Then we go on from this case and to another, man, a shocking case where, and this is coming out of Cork as well. And this is the case where a conman persuaded a husband to pay €1,120 for cannabis to help his dying wife, and the man then fled with the money. A really messed up case here. So an individual, as he said, a heartless conman persuaded a distraught husband to hand over €1,120 for cannabis oil in a desperate last-ditch bid to help his wife, who was a victim of cervical smear scandal. And then done a runner with the money. Really messed up, like. And this was heard at the Fermoy District Court recently, and it was that the 38-year-old John Griffin preyed on Paul Dingavan just a month before his 36-year-old wife Julie died in April of 2017. Griffin pleaded guilty to the charge that he dishonestly, by deception, induced Paul Dingavan to hand over €1,120, believing that he would supply cannabis oil to him with the intention of making gain for himself at McCurtain Street, Fermoy, on March 1st, 2017. He was sentenced to 9 months in jail only for this crime. 9 months in jail. Like the other fellow who got caught with some cannabis and heroin and got 10 months. This fella, he actually went out there and ripped a man off, took advantage of a man at a time when his wife was dying, and took probably maybe what little money the man had too, like €1,120. That's quite a bit of money. Like maybe that was all of the man's money at the time, or a majority of it. Being that, you know, his wife was in the situation she was in, maybe he wasn't working as much, and he was just in that very vulnerable state, and he got completely taken advantage of then because of that. And again, this is only because of prohibition. Again, you've Paul Dingavan probably is aware of the benefits that cannabis potentially has for people with cancer, for again just helping with the symptoms there of the chemotherapy and some of the other things that comes with cancer. So maybe he was tempted, and then because he had the knowledge of it, maybe Paul Dingavan had actually approached his the health professionals. Maybe his wife had approached the health professionals and said, "Can you get us access there to cannabis? Because we know people in America, they have access to it, and it's helping them do wonders." And they weren't able to do it. Who knows? But Paul Dingavan was down at the pub having a chat with his brother, and that's when he believed that this individual was after overhearing their conversation, and he airwigged himself into it then, and was kind of like, "Oh yeah, I can get you some cannabis oil and it'll cure your wife's cancer." And you know, that's pretty much what Paul Dingavan was saying that the man said to him, that this is going to cure your wife's cancer. You know, like what person wouldn't be willing to, you know, at that kind of a point of it too. So it's again like, and I think the highlight here is like that Julie, and may she rest in peace as well, Julie Dingavan, like she's been failed not once but twice by the Irish state here, because the major failure of the Irish state was obviously the smear scandal that went on here, which was an atrocity, like an atrocious carry on and behaviour of people who were supposed to be looking out for people like that. But then the second failure was not providing safe and effective access to cannabis oil. They lost out to the tune of €1,120 at the time. And fair play to them for coming forward, in fairness, like, and for the courts for hearing it as well. You know, it's interesting, you know, that this man was breaking the law and handing over the money to buy cannabis oil. The cannabis oil was illegal. So it's interesting that the courts heard this and entertained this. So it's very interesting, you know, because at the very same time that if Paul Dingavan was successful, and let's say that the guy was an honest guy, and he provided the cannabis oil, and Paul Dingavan was going down the road then in Fermoy, the cops would have fucking took it off him. Do you know what I mean? And here the cops are now kind of almost, well, the law almost, like, it's on his side. It arrested the guy, it locked him up, like, for 9 months. So I would say the guy should have got a lot more anyway, maybe three to four, I would say, for preying on people in such a situation. Like, horrible individual, like. You don't want these people in your society. Like, that is effective use of our prisons, taking these individuals who are just nasty people to have in our society. A person who uses drugs, drug users aren't bad. We don't need to lock them up. Some of them are just sick. They need to go to a hospital, if anything, like, you know, but that's it. That's all we should be doing for people who use drugs in our society. It makes me want to have a bowl.